I'll mention tatlong issues, then questions na lang ko anong. First, dun sa trials ng mga ampatuan at pinayagan na ang live coverage. I congratulate the Supreme Court. It's a good move na payagan na ang publiko ay makita isang trial. I've always maintained that the difference between the Philippines and the United States is that we do not have the jury system, and our judges and justices are more trained to be able to judge or to make a decision based on the merit and not based on public pressure, no? And I do believe that public pressure through the media, no, or transparency is more effective in our country. Na ang nagiging problema hindi yung biases ng jury, no, but kung hindi yung power of those people who have money or who have power, no. So I do believe that a open and transparent trial where people will be able to see evidence presented, performance ng mga prosecutors. I'll give you an example, no. Before the trial started, marami ng issue tungkol sa mga prosecutors, eh. But pag walang live coverage, limited yung information na nalaman ng mga tao. So, can you imagine all the other controversial cases? Pagka ito ay allowed ng live coverage, yes, you may ask that, but there will only be a few cases that will actually be carried on television, on radio live. But with the advent of technology, you can even have a web page dedicated to it na naka-live streaming yung mga courts, and this can be recorded so that may basis tayo, no, ang mamamayan, at may basis ang korte mismo to monitor lower courts and MTCs, RTCs in the conduct of trials. Secondly, after 2 weeks from the opening of classes, you have the usual problems. And I think the bigger problem is that we're using the usual solutions. Hindi tayo nagiging proactive pa rin o hindi nagkakaroon ng roadmap na solusyonan to. As far as the quality of education, maganda yung programa ng DepEd, no, yung K-12 or K+12, no, kung tawagin nila. Ang problema, it also creates additional problems. It aggravates the lack of classrooms, no. So, ito yung sinasabi ko, when will our students see the solutions to our problems? Meron na ba tayong nakitang magulang na ang sinabi sa kanilang anak, hintayin mo yumaman tayo, saka ka mag-aral. No? Baliktad ata, di ba? Anak, mag-aral ka na mabuti para yumaman tayo. Bakit yung gobyerno, parang yun ang sinasabi sa ating bansa? And I'm not referring to the Aquino administration. All previous administrations, ganun ang naging approach. Importante ang education, but dahil mahirap tayo, tiis muna. I think baliktad. Dahil mahirap tayong bansa, mag-invest tayo heavily sa education. I'll give a simple problem with a simple solution. 66,000 classrooms ang kulang para magkaroon ng 8 hours na pasok ang mga bata. Kahit anong dagdag natin ng year level, kung ang mga bata ay 2 shifts o marami 3 shifts din, 6 to 10, 10 to 2, 2 to 6 lang ang pasok. Mas marami pa silang oras sa internet, sa television, kaso sa loob ng classroom. So, 66,000 classrooms computed at 500,000 pesos per classroom, just to simplify the math. That's 33 billion pesos. So, why can't we appropriate 11 billion pesos in the next 3 years para sa 4th year ng Aquino administration, wala ng classroom shortage? So what I'm saying is that by appropriating between 3 to 5 or 7 billion a year, it seems like it's solving the problem, but it's not. It's only making up for yung growth in population, yung population growth natin, lalo sa enrollment, yun lang tinutugunan nun. But the same problem, no? And just to give you some statistics, for every 100 students, Filipino students going to grade 1, 86 lang ang pumapasok ng grade 2, 76 lang ang natatapos ng grade 3, 65 lang ang nagfi-finish ng grade 6, 58 go to high school, 43 finish high school, 23 enroll in college, and only 14 na natatapos. No? Ito galing to sa conference ng Southeast Asian Ministers of Education. No? Meron din isang study na nagsasabing 1/3 of our school-age children are out-of-school youth. Makikita mo rin yon dun sa enrollment in college kasi college age, school age pa rin yan. And kung 23% lang ang pumapasok sa college, ibig sabihin 80% nag-out of school na at that time. Buti kung ang ating high school already trains our students to be able to work and be productive. But the truth of the matter is, hindi pa nakahanda yung mga graduate ng high school. In this sense, dun ko sinasabi na yung programa ng DepEd na pag-graduate mo ng high school, hindi mo na kailangan ng college para magtrabaho. In that sense, maganda yung programa nila. But in the sense that napakakulang ng classrooms and other basics. Remember, we're talking about basic pa lang. Hindi pa natin pinag-uusapan mga lack of laboratories, auditoriums, CRs, IT equipment, computers, no, modern technology para may quantum leap ang mga estudyante natin. The national government does not have to attack this problem alone, but they are more capable and they have the resources, not only the financial resources, but also the financial institutions to help. Give you an example. Ang nakokolekta for the Special Education Fund, which is 1% of the real property tax, no? Lalo sa highly urbanized cities, is around 15 billion a year. Kung magkakaroon lang ng Memorandum of Agreement ang DepEd at saka ang LGUs, kahit utangin yung 1/3 ng 15 billion, 5 billion, then that's already almost half of what you need kung 3 years mo atakihin yung problema. But with 15 billion, why do I say 1/3? Para you still give the mayors and the governors the discretion, or the mayors sa 2/3 nung SEF nila. But I think to ask them for a commitment that in the next 3 years we will focus on classrooms, yung po ay kung yung 15 billion na yon, magpo-focus sa classrooms yung 1/3. Kung uutangin mo, pwede mong utangin yung buong 15 billion in 1 year kasi 3 years to pay naman o 5 years to pay, no? Ganun din sa national government, no? We're talking about 3 to 5 billion lang a year. So if they increase it and double it, kahit utangin nila, yung interest na lang, yung interest ngayon is only equivalent to the yung itataas sa construction cost. Hindi pa kasama dito yung cost sa bata. Ano yung cost sa bata na buong grade school niya or buong high school niya, 4 hours lang siya nag-aaral instead of 8 hours. If you look at our OFWs, no, there are some countries na panay professionals. Di ba yung last trip ng presidente sa Middle East, was it in Brunei? You know, Brunei, ang sinabi doon sa news reports, karamihan na nandun ay professionals. So, ang Pilipino, bigyan mo ng oportunidad, no? It will help the country. So, if you look, for example, at Hong Kong, Taiwan, marami factory workers at saka domestic helpers. Hindi yun by choice. Kasi ito yung mga produkto ng naging out-of-school youth. Diba? Pero bigyan sila ng chance na nakapagtapos ng college or ng technical education, they will go for the higher paying jobs, whether in the country or out of the country. So, sana after the first year of this administration, dahil ngayon daw ginagawa yung budget at patapos na yung budget, we will see some more proactive approaches to the problem, pero with actual solutions in sight. Ang problema ko lang naman dun sa budget last year, for example, it gives partial solution, pero parang hindi mo makikita tapos ang problema. So with this classroom shortage, I know there are other problems to follow, yung lack of teachers, etc. But as I said, that will follow, one step at a time. So for the last, since post-Marcos, because under the 1987 Constitution, libre ang elementary at high school. So since na libreng elementary high school, we have never seen na walang shortage sa classroom. There, I think, 1 or 2 LGUs, and kudos to them that they were able to fill the gap at wala na silang shortage, no? But that's the exception. the general rule is all over the country, malaki ang shortage. Then lastly, dito sa confirmation hearings at sa Hello Garci issue kay Chairman Brillantes, no? Let me address it first to the Palace. By June 30, 1 year na ang palasyo. Ang kanilang naging slogan ay kung walang corrupt, walang mahirap. I think I would give the President and his administration above average marks for keeping in general, siyempre may mga exceptions yan or baka lumabas later on, but in general, I would give them above average marks for keeping his government clean, no? Meaning instituting good governance. But dalawang part yan. The other part is holding people accountable or going after those that nag-abuso nung past administration. Remember, sa Pilipinas, bawal magnakaw ng konti. Pag nagnakaw ka ng malaki, you have enough money na pagtakpan ang mga krimen mo. Pag nagnakaw ka ng konti, siguradong kulong. Pero pag nagnakaw ng malaki, yun yung mga nakakagamit ng pera and power for privileges. At nakita natin, kahit na nakakulong na nga with the money and power, may privileges pa rin, no? So, why is it so important that we hold people accountable? Kasi dun lang matututo Yun lang ang nakita natin na effective na deterrence. Kapag ka ang tao ay natanggal sa trabaho, nakasuhan, nakulong, then we send the message that crime does not pay. But kung hindi, then nagta-timing lang yung mga yan or tinatago lang yung mga yon. And if we look at the scams that happened during the Arroyo administration, fertilizer scam, ZTE, swine scam, etc., wala pa naman hold accountable doon. And worse, yung mga taong ginamit. We're only focusing on the masterminds. Na tama naman yun, yung big fish, no? But what about the smaller fish na sila ang gumawa ng paperwork? Nandiyan pa sila sa mga departamento. And it's the same thing with COMELEC. Kung totoo ang Hello Garci and it was caught on tape, and kung ano yung nasa tape can be verified, no? Because sa tape, very specific yung mga instances. In fact, when we were during the impeachment, hawak na namin yung mga election returns kung saan mapapakita at mabe-verify compared sa nakalagay sa Garci tape. So while it is true that you cannot use the tape as evidence, you can use it as a lead sa investigation. And there is independent evidence pointing to that. But this is my question. How important is it to Malacanang to go after the evils or the sins of the past administration? They practically won the election by promising to be different by GMA, which they're doing now, but also to go after the evils of her administration. But bakit medyo cavalier masyado yung attitude pagdating dito sa Hello Garci? Appointee nila si Chairman Brillantes, Attorney Brillantes, at hindi pa naman siya nako-confirm. So, pag tinatanong sila, bakit na-appoint yung mga Hello Garci, bakit nandyan? Ang sagot nila, independent ang COMELEC. Pero appointee nila yung chairman. They can always tell the chairman that do this or you won't get reappointed, or that could be the parameters of his appointment. And I sense a double standard. Bakit ang Office of the Ombudsman ay independent din? Pero ang presidente mismo, in many of his major policy speeches, mentioned how he needs a independent ombudsman. How he needs an ombudsman that will not protect GMA and the past administration, but will go after anomalies. So can Malacanang not issue a statement that they will not also tolerate a COMELEC chairman that will cover up or will protect people who participated in the Hello Garci scandal? Can they not also ask for a chairman that will, yung isa nga, pinag-resign pa or i-impeach pa bago palitan? Ito, it's a simple colatilla or it's a simple sa appointment. It's been 2 weeks or more since we adjourned from Congress and na-bring up itong Hello Garci. May interview si Director Rafanan sa radio. Ang sabi niya, naghihintay lang naman siya ng utos. Utusan lang naman siya, iimbestigahan ang Hello Garci. Anong sagrado sa mga taga-COMELEC na may kilalaman sa Hello Garci, ano ang tinatago at ayaw itong imbestigahan. So, I do feel that the palace should investigate yung Hello Garci. If the palace will not investigate, the Senate should investigate. If the Senate does not investigate, COMELEC should investigate. Kung ayaw pa rin ng COMELEC na investigate, wala na kaming choice. Kami na lang sa Commission on Appointments, we will use the confirmation hearing as a venue to investigate. Pero baka naman pag sinimulan namin investigate yung Hello Garci sa CA, bigla naman siya mag-resign para hindi ito maimbestigahan. No? So the question sa Palace, do you want to know the truth regarding the Hello Garci? Because nung magkakasama tayo sa Congress at marami sa kabinete at ang presidente mismo, ang pinaglalaban natin, matuloy lang ang investigasyon. Ngayon, lahat ng kapangyarihan ay nasa kamay ninyo, nasa kamay natin para imbestigahan. Pero ang nag-impede mismo ng investigation ay yung chairman ng COMELEC. Dahil sabi niya, gusto niyang tignan mismo at gusto niya siya mismo. Pwede naman siya mag-utos sa COMELEC na mag-imbestiga tungkol dito. And then lastly, we have conflicting reports. The spokesman keeps insisting na meron ng investigasyon at na-clear na itong mga to. Samantalang ang chairman ng ang head ng legal is saying walang nangyaring investigasyon, at least during his time. So I smell a cover-up here. Remember, yung sinasabi ni Mr. Jimenez, yung spokesman ng COMELEC na investigasyon was the time of Chairman Abalos. Sino ba si Chairman Abalos? Chairman Abalos ay appointee ni Presidente Arroyo na best friend ng first gentleman na siya ang main character sa ZTE. So does Mr. Jimenez expect na ang investigation launched by Mr. Abalos would produce results regarding the Hello Garci, which is about cheating and about a conversation allegedly between the former president and a commissioner she appointed? No? So remember, the Hello Garci is not only about cheating and operations sa precinct level or sa municipal or provincial level. It is also about the use of government resources to prop up the president's re-election bid. The use of OWA funds, PhilHealth funds, PCSO funds, etc. No? And this is the jurisdiction of COMELEC. COMELEC just announced that starting 2013, may bago silang sistema para i-check yung expenditures ng mga politiko. Why don't they start with the 2004 election with the Hello Garci? Diba? So all of this nasa kamay ng COMELEC, and I throw back the question to Palace. What kind of COMELEC do you want? What kind of chairman do you want? What kind of elections in 2013 and 2016 do you want? Because right now, it seems that okay lang sa inyo yung Hello Garci type of COMELEC because wala akong nakikitang proactive o firm stand. Panay pinapasa lang kay Chairman Brillantes. And then si Chairman Brillantes naman is just taking it one press release at a time. No? Pagka-convenient sa kanya, magpre-press release siya na imbestigan niya yung Hello Garci, pero pag tulog na yung issue, hindi niya na gagawin ito. And even if it's in all the front pages ng major dailies natin, still, wala man lang commitment ngayon from the COMELEC to investigate. So, what's up? Di ba? I'm asking the Palace, bakit ganon? No? Instructions nyo ba yan? Or ayaw ba sumunod sa inyo yan? Hindi pa nga nako-confirm, ganyan na yung attitude. What do you expect pa sa 2013 or 2016? Okay. Yeah. 2 points. So, first, whether or not i-reappoint nila, shouldn't we put a closure to yung mga scams that happened during the Arroyo administration? Ang head ng COMELEC ngayon, appointee nila. Ang head ng DOTC, si Senator Mar, si Secretary Mar ngayon, siya ang isa sa nag-investigate ng ZTE. So sana magkaroon ng closure at kumpletuhin niya, magkaroon din sila na kahit na tahimik na investigasyon dito. Ang head ng agriculture ngayon, appointed din nila. So he should be able to get to the bottom of the fertilizer and swine scam. Sino yung kung ang mga Garci boys ay nakakalat at na-promote pa dito sa COMELEC, who's to say that yung mga fertilizer boys at saka swine scam boys hindi nakakalat-kalat pa sa DA or sa ibang agencies, no? Or yung mga ZTE boys ay nakakalat pa sa NEDA or sa DOTC. Yun yung point ko doon. Kasi itong mga to, nasanay na sa scam eh. So, hindi tatahimik yan. Maghahanap ng ibang scam yan. So, ako, whether or not he's reappointed, let's get to the bottom of all of these issues. Unless we're willing to admit that we're wrong. And we're going to say na walang nangyaring ganun scam. But ang paninindigan ko sa ebidensyang nakita ko during the time that I was a congressman and when I signed the impeachment kay President Arroyo, I saw that there was prima facie evidence. No? So, at this point in time, I'd prefer he doesn't reappoint for simple reason. Wala akong nakikitang action from his from side niya. Inamin ni Chairman Brillantes that given enough time, maaring mamanipulate even yung PICOS na binili natin. So, that means may revenge of the operators sa 2013 or 2016. So, we have to answer the question, is the new chairman an operator? And only if we can answer with 100% certainty that he's not, should we have him there. But if our answer is that he cuddles or he himself is an operator, we're throwing the elections in 2013, 2016 to the wolves. Lahat ng gains natin this election will be lost. If you look at the transcript of the interview of Director Rafanan, and you look at the interviews ni Chairman Melo, tinanong siya, yung sa COMELEC ba, nalinis mo na ba? Have you cleaned the COMELEC? Ang sagot niya, I need a reorganization act. Congress has to pass and allow me to kick out the people. Kung hindi, hindi ko magagawa. Kaya nag-concentrate muna siya sa automation. So even Chairman Melo admitted that there are bad eggs. No, hindi naman lahat. But ang difference, Malacanang and Chairman Brillantes keep saying due process or wala namang kaso yung Garci Boys. Remember, you don't need a case para hindi sila bigyan ng pwesto. Hindi mo kailangan bigyan ng regional directorship o ng mataas na posisyon ang mga taga-COMELEC. So kahit walang kaso, it's not even a preventive suspension. It's simply a reassignment. While the investigation is going on, don't give them sensitive positions. But hindi yun ang nangyayari. Baliktad pa. The more involved sila sa Hello Garci, the better ata yung positions na ibinibigay. So ang question dyan, why? Yes, I have a series of questions that will show that pag siya humawak ng kaso, nag-iiba yung resulta. So, ang tanong ko, ang kliyente ba niya ang gumagawa nun o siya mismo?
Sir, you mentioned earlier, sa COMELEC, nandun pa yung mga Hello Garci Boys. Sa DOTC, nandun yung mga CP and
Possible. Sa DOTC at saka sa agriculture, I said, possible kasi hindi ko sure, hindi ko hawak yung mga pangalan. Because nga, hindi kami umabot dun sa investigation na yun.
Kaya sir, you like na matanggal na sila. So, paano kung hindi matanggal? Dati sila itong magawa sa DOTC, nandun pa rin. Sa agriculture, nandun pa rin.
At sa akin naman, step by step muna. Hindi pa ni Basa nabanggit ang pangalan nila, even sa Garci Boys, no? Ay guilty na sila. But ang question ko, bakit takot tayo mag-imbestiga? So, halimbawa sa agriculture at DOTC, saan departamento ba dumaan ang mga papeles, ang kontrata, ang bidding, or ang procurement process? Sino-sino ang pumirma, sino-sino nag-assess, ano opinion nila, nasaan ang mga memos. Then, isa-isahin. So, yung hindi guilty, walang problema. Pero yung guilty, ang tanong ko, why keep them there? Because ang belief ko, nasa dugo na nila yung pagiging operator or pagiging scam artist.
Sir, are you challenging Senator Thomas and Mahawas na linisin niya?
No, I'm challenging the President and his whole administration that lahat ng tinuligsa natin during the Arroyo administration, tapusin natin yung mga investigation. Magtulungan tayo, tapusin yon. In the Senate, we will do what we can, but sila na may control ng mga departamento. So all they have to do is not even create a fact-finding lang ang kailangan nila. I've mentioned this in many of the confirmation hearings and in the budget hearing also. And if you notice, even dun sa hearing ng plea bargaining, inamin ni Secretary ng DND na hindi pa iniimbestigahan ng DND ang mga scam na nangyari during the Arroyo administration pagdating sa mga procurement sa DND. But he said they will be undertaking this. sa akin, it doesn't matter kung hindi maingay yung investigation as long as may gumagawa. But so far, wala pa ako nabibalitaan na kahit discreet na investigation ay ginagawa. I understand that during their first year, they have to focus on a lot of things. And kung magfo-focus ka sa investigasyon lang, maaring yung future naman. When you focus on the past, maaring yung ma-sacrifice yung future. Pero pag hindi mo naman pinansin yung past, you're bound to make the same mistakes. So, ang question, do we want the same ZTE scam, pero iba naman, radar naman ngayon halimbawa? Do you want the same fertilizer scam, pero iba naman, no? I know it's different because you have the president na malinis, you have his alter egos na pinipilit din na maging malinis at sundin ng presidente. But, ang gobyerno is not one person, eh. It's not only the Aquinos na malinis. It's also people that they have appointed, eh. Tingnan nyo ang GOCC. Why do we need the GOCC Act? Kasi appointee na ng presidente, gusto din kumita ng malaki. Kaya kailangan mo pa ng batas. Pero kung lahat ng appointee ng presidente, sila magkukusa na ibaba yung allowances at sweldo nila, hindi na natin dapat pinasapa yung GOCC Reform Act. But why did we have to pass it? Because it's human nature at kahit appointee ng presidente. So, my question is, pagdating sa NEDA, yung mga in-approve na deals, I'll give you another example. What's happening with North Rail? Diba? Tignan nyo, halos lahat ng flights ngayon may delay. Kasi ang haba ng pila sa runway, di ba? Ilan years ago, sinabi na gagawin natin major airport ang Clark. Pero hanggang ngayon, napakadami pa rin problema sa North Rail. So, mauulit to sa ibang projects unless we hold some people accountable at makita ng mga bawat departamento na this administration ay mag-iimbestiga at kakasuhan yung mga makikita nilang nagkasala.
Opposition lawmakers at the House of Representatives are seeking investigation into the government's failure to impose disciplinary action dun sa umano'y presidential public official close to Pinoy. Are you in favor? Kasi yung palas yata, may report na President is ordering to stop
well, let me put it this way dahil meron interchamber courtesy. No? First of all, it's a legitimate issue. No? Hindi dapat maging balat sibuyas ang palasyo pagka mga appointees nila ang kine-question. Now, if it's not true, then simply answer it and simply give their qualification. No? Ang masama lang naman na i-appoint yung kamag-anak na bawal dahil nepotismo yon. But yung kaibigan, kabarilan, other, as long as qualified sila and they can do a good job, wala namang masama dun eh. Alangan namang kalaban mo, i-appoint mo. Diba? Baka yun ang hinahanap ng iba, yung pang-apat na kay kalaban. Hindi ka naman mag-appoint ng kalaban unless you're extending the hand of reconciliation at magaling talaga. Diba? I've lobbied for that before. I said na nung nag 1 year na, ang example, si Secretary Teodoro would be an asset to this administration, for example. Senator Villar will be an asset to this administration. Senator Gordon will be an asset to this administration. But for the House to investigate, it will really depend on the chairman because it's really a discretion of the majority members. So I guess it will be a decision of the committee sa House whether or not they will make it a priority. But so far as it being a topic, it's a legitimate topic. Remember, it's only the cabinet secretary